What's up, my YouTube family? Guess what? I added another gold medal to the list. So stoked. I got 4 golds now and 5 medals total. But I thought I would sit down here today and just talk about the process and what happened leading up to X Games. I've got a laptop full of a bunch of videos that I compiled together just recently. I got Arnie behind the camera and we're just going to go through and talk about the process leading up from May 30th. I got in the USA, and the last competition was Best Trick, and that was July 24th. So not really that much time to prepare for an X Games, but I did my best, and I guess we start on my journey over to the USA. Alrighty, let's get started. So obviously 50 days out from X Games, I didn't know at the time, I was flying to the USA for Nitro Circus. I heard there was rumors of X Games, but I didn't know what was going to be happening, and sure enough, I got my invite. It said Dave Mirra's BMX Park Best Trick, and as you may know, I won silver last year, so I got an invite for that. And then there was BMX Mega Park, and I'm like, what is BMX Mega Park? And soon found out it was Elliot Sloan's ramp. But obviously, I was heading to the USA for Nitro Circus, so I was concentrating on doing these step up to step back. The first time I've ever done the show. It was so gnarly to do every show. It was so scary. Plus, I did a front flip, nothing front bike flip, smashed myself in the eye. And just doing tour constantly, I was like just concentrating on that. So 43 days out, I got my first actual practice for X Games. And I went to All In Skate Park in Canada to practice for Park Best Trick. And I had an idea in my head that I wanted to do the previous year, but I was like, okay, I'll do it this year. But I didn't know what the skate park. So I was like, oh, I just had an idea, and I'll show you the trick, but don't tell anyone how close I am to it, because no one still hasn't done it. But yeah, moving on. I obviously was on the road non-stop for a month. I didn't have any breaks. I didn't know, I had never ridden Elliot Sloan's ramp. I had never seen it. I had never rode the skate park, never seen it. So it was so hard to like realize like what was I going to do at these ramps? Like, can I do the tricks I want to do on these ramps? But I just had to concentrate on Nitro Circus because it was non-stop. So even though I was non-stop on tour, I did a few cool things. Like there was this bike fest in Fayetteville, and I actually got the opportunity to ride some dirt jumps that were slightly smaller than like the Mega Ramp. So I thought, hey, I got to practice like some tricks. So I ended up doing like a front flip kickless, and I won a best trick there. And my bars also snapped off my bike, which also wasn't cool, but ended up for some pretty cool footage, I guess, if you're into that kind of stuff. So 29 days out, it was actually my birthday, and I'm getting my new tattoo, the Goku tattoo, Ultra Instinct. And I actually got that because I was like thinking, all right, when I go to X Games, I got to go Ultra Instinct. You know, just let my body react to what's happening before my mind can even do it. And straight after that, I actually went to an MGK concert. It was absolutely insane. And then I actually went to the after party with them, right? And I actually after partied with MGK and Megan Fox and Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy, you know the song, right? And straight after that, I woke up in the morning and I had to drive 5 hours to Woodward. And man, I was so hungover. But it was finally time to like practice for the Mega Park contest at Elliot Sloan's, because I knew I haven't rode a vert ramp for like so long, and the only other, like, I rode the Mega Ramp, but that's 28.5 foot, and Elliot Sloan's is only 20. So I was like, I need to ride some vert ramps. Obviously went there, did my normal stuff, front fled to the resi, and then I was like, okay, I gotta learn some new tricks into the foam pit. So I started throwing some new tricks. Front flip, opposite look back was one of the tricks I learned, front flip look back. So I was pretty stoked on that, and obviously tried a bunch of stuff that is pretty sketchy, but who knows, maybe one day. But there was another trick, you're seeing it right here, a double flare. So obviously in the contest, if you've seen it by now, you know that it was actually pretty hard to land a full run. So I didn't actually have to pull this double flare out, but next year, mate, next year, coming for you, whoever's in front of me. If there is. If I had to do it, I would have tried. So I would say that the training at Woodward went pretty good. Even though it was only 24 hours at Woodward, I was pretty stoked. Went straight into a show, landed the tandem bike with Curtis for the first time ever, and got myself a new world's first. And then guess what? I went straight to the UFC. And that was absolutely amazing. I was in the crowd with like 50 of the best fighters I know. You know, every single fighter was there. It was fight week. It was incredible. Shout out to Dana White for getting me tickets. I love you, dude. Alright, so I know time is absolutely flying right now, but 2 weeks till X Games. Guess what? I finally get to go see the skate park that I got to do Best Trick at, and like I look around and I'm like, oh, this is rad, like there's a good skate park, you know, but this isn't going to work for the trick that I want to do, like, or it might, but it's going to be super hectic. But then I find this like little gap that goes like, there's like the spine, and then it goes to a steep ramp, and I'm like, got my mind like ticking. I'm like, you know what? I reckon I could do some sort of fakey trick here, and that's, you know, if you've seen X Games, you know what came of that. But moving on, I also got to ride Elliot's Sloan's ramp for the first time because I had to film an athlete profile. So I got to ride that. I didn't have pads though. Guess what? Because the airline keeps losing my pads all the time. So I was kind of a little bit stressed, but had a really good ride as well as I could without my pads. Obviously, I didn't throw any of my biggest tricks, but I don't know. To be able to ride the ramp was good because I only had 2 weeks until I actually had to compete on the thing and try to win this. Alright, so the next day after Elliot's, I had to fly straight into a Nitro Circus show, 2 Nitro Circus shows, and I actually did a new trick that you're going to see in my next video. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it starts with a nose manual on the scissor lift. And if you can think about what I've been doing, you might be able to guess it, but wait till the next video. Make sure you tune in, subscribe, be ready for it, turn those notifications on because it's a worldie and it's one of my favorite worldies I've ever done. But now we are only 8 days out from X Games, and I don't really know what I'm going to do at Park Best Trick, so I got to go back to Canada to All In Skate Park, and sure enough I did. And this was like pretty crazy for me. We were doing a kids camp, you know, and we set up this ramp, right? I'm looking at it right now with you, but we put a ramp that I made above the I'm going to pause it. Above the resi. So we put a ramp on top of the resi so that I could roll fakie faster. And I wanted to try fakie backy, but I hadn't done it on a scooter yet. So I had to try it on a scooter. And shout out to Connor. He tried it first, and yeah, he got really close, as you can see. But pretty much, it worked how I thought it would. And it was super scary the first time, but once I did it once on scooter, I was like, oh, I know how this works. And I think I got it like maybe 5th or 6th try on scooter, and man, it felt really good. But I was like, okay, I don't know if this is going to work on a BMX bike. Like, does it translate over? I'm not sure. But sure enough, I'm going to give it a go. So we set it up, and man, this thing, it took me probably over an hour to land. But at the start, I was kind of doing a dip 3, and you're going to kind of tell by when I tried it at X Games, what I'm trying to say is that it was so hard. Like, I really thought that I was going to go out there and just stomp this trick at X Games, but I had a rude awakening when it came to X Games. We're going to get to that. But basically, yeah, kept throwing it. I think it took me like maybe 20 tries to land on BMX bike, but obviously, I think it was worth it.
Oh my God!
So it seriously felt so damn amazing to roll away from this trick. It really like gave me confidence going into X Games because I thought that doing this thing on resi, like I thought it was actually kind of harder, I think, than doing it on a normal ramp, just because it's not as steep. But I definitely need a perfect ramp at a skate park, which obviously I couldn't find at X Games. But this trick took me over an hour. The kids were so damn stoked, and I had a great time at All In Skate Park. I always do. I even took my gloves off, and my hands were like, what do you call that when your hands are wrinkly after like being underwater for so long? Whatever that's called, my hands did it from being so sweaty with gloves on. So that's how hard I try when I do tricks.
No one right there.
Alright, so straight from All In, you're going to see right here, I had to travel through customs in Toronto, and it was the worst customs I've ever gone through. I missed my flight. I missed 2 flights, actually. I missed my first flight when I got there because of the traffic to the airport. Had to get a hotel at the airport, and then got up in the morning and then missed my flight again because it took me 3 hours to get through customs. Here we go. So, I don't know what the go was there. And then guess what? I got to Nitro Circus, and they lost my X Games bike. And this is like 5 days before X Games, the airline loses my bike. So I am absolutely freaking out. But anyway, I had to do a Nitro Circus show with no pads on, and a borrowed scooter and no bike. But hey, I still sent a 1080 Franny and stomped it. Alrighty, so now I am finally back in Huntington Beach. I've got my bike, I've got all my pads, and it is the day before X Games. I finally get to ride Elliot Sloan's ramp, and I just pedal in a few times, do a few airs. I feel really comfortable at this point. I end up doing a cash roll over the gap and air it like pretty decent, maybe just a 6 or 7 foot over. And then I was like, all right, I need to like do something on the quarter pipe, because obviously I got the front flare, but I need another quarter trick. So I'm like, I'm gonna try flare. And my first flare, to be honest, was like terrible, but I was never gonna like huck as hard as I could, because I did flares at Woodward into the foam, and you need to like chill so much so that you don't come off the wall of the ramp. But I ended up working it out. I ended up getting the flare third try and incorporated it into like a little run. So I was feeling good. And then I was like, okay, I need to figure out a gap trick over the second gap, because I knew I was going to cash roll the first. So it was cash roll the first, flare the second quarter, and then front flip kickless. And this is why I was practicing the front flip kicklesses, so I could stomp it just like that. It ended up taking me like, I don't know, I think it was second try that I landed the fronty kickless, and at this point I had major heel bruise, and I was like not feeling it. But anyway, I was feeling good coming to game day. Alrighty, we are finally at game day. Elliot Sloan's Mega Park X Games, the first day of X Games. So I was feeling pretty good actually, because A-Shock, my sponsor, had never had an athlete on the podium. So I was like, oh, I could be the first A-Shock athlete on the podium. Sure enough, I did. But I remember feeling so nervous when I was dropping in, or like sitting up ready to drop in. I obviously had to drop in last, which is kind of like, to me, it's, I don't know, it was scary, you know, it makes things scarier. But basically, I remember just looking at my gloves, and I'll show you, I got these gloves here. I got these gloves right here, and then my Willyland gloves. And basically what I thought, I was like, on the fingers, I have each guy, I have Devin, like his Cheetos, Roscoe's the chicken noodles, Harley's a skull, Gecko's a gecko, obviously. And I was like, oh, these boys are watching. That's what I knew. That's what I thought about. I was like, my boys are watching, my mum, my family's watching. All right, let's send it, you know. And that's what was going through my mind at that time. But I remember, I was like, just stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. Drop in, cash roll the first jump, easy, you know, all day. All right, flare. I've done 2 of these flares. I've landed 2 of these flares. Boom, I cased. And I was like, what is going on? I just cased a 20-foot quarter, a 20-foot vertical quarter, and I was so confused. I was like, how does that even happen? I remember I was like, because I was so worried about coming out so far, because it's vertical, so it's like so hard to actually case. But sure enough, I managed to case. And I remember I was sliding along the ground. I'm like, okay, I just cased a 20-foot quarter, doing a flare, 10 foot out, and I'm like, okay to do another run. So instantly I was like, this is all right, like whatever. That same thing happened to me when I won this. You know, the first run, I crashed my front flare, and that's like the trick that I thought I had on lock. And then the flare that I thought, I was like, flare every day. Nah, crash the first run. It's something to do with these first runs, but next year I'm not stacking my first run, all right? All right? Alrighty, so second run come up. I've just watched everyone do their runs. J2, he did really well. Pat Casey, I believe, did his best run, like the run that got him silver, and it was actually one of the top scores on the board. So I was like, okay, I need to put a run down 100%. I'm like, I have to land this. Drop in, cash roll, feels good, you know, coming in. Flare, okay, don't pop off, don't pop out more, I said to myself, okay, cool. And I was actually meant to do a fronty kickless this run, but I just wanted to get a score on the board so bad, and I wanted to get this front flare, because I hadn't done the front flare yet at all at Elliott's. But I knew that that was the quarter I wanted to do it, but I wasn't sure if it was going to work. But sure enough, it worked. And that's why I was so damn excited, because I was like, okay, now we're ready to go. You know, now I put one run down, let's see where it puts me, and I can work my way up, because I knew I had more, you know. I just had to get to that third hit, get the fronty kickless, and then front flare again, and that was like my planned run, you know, my safety run done, my good run done. And it was actually kind of funny because I wasn't sure where they were going to put me on the board, and they actually ended up putting me in second. So I was like, oh, sweet. That just gives me an even better excuse to go as hard as I can on the third run. So, yeah, I ended up in second place going into my third run. All right, where's these gloves? This is where the third time's a charm comes into play. So, third run. And guess what? Third time's a charm, baby. All right, third time's a charm. I even looked into the camera on this and I'm like, well, you're watching it here. But I even looked into the camera and I was like, yeah, this is it. Third time's a charm. Let's go. I should have did that, to be honest, but now in hindsight. I was like, okay, let's go. So dropped in, do the cash roll. Cash roll felt good every single time. All right, flare, 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 pop out, pop out. Felt good. And then I had to put a half crank in to switch my pedals to do kickless rewind, because when I do whips in fronties, I have to switch my feet. But I remember the scariest part of this run actually was from the landing of the fronty kickless to the front flare. I was like, my heart was going so fast. That was the most nervous I'd been all day, was between landing my front flip kickless to the front flare, because I just knew that fronty kickless was not easy to land. Like, I only did one in practice and it was super hard. And you even see in the replay, like, I had to do it so quick. I had to over-rotate the fronty at the start, and I knew that I didn't want to have to do that again. You know, I wanted to just land the front flare. Sure enough, came in, and the front flare came in perfect. I almost landed like standing up, and then I was like, from that point, I was like cheering. I was like, yeah, third time's a charm, third time's a charm. You don't even like really process what's going through your mind when you land like a run like that. Like the one that you planned. It had three really hard tricks. I feel like the cash roll, you know, I got pretty dialed, but the flare, the fronty kickless, and the front flare, like to have all those tricks combined and get the run done, it was just like such a relief. And at that point, I was like, all right, like if someone can beat this score, then we can go ham right now. But I am so satisfied with like how I had done it in the contest, and I was ready to go into the fourth run. So after the third run, obviously I had to watch everyone else go. Pat Casey, I think he stuffed up, and Tui had done really well. But there was one person that hadn't landed a run, and that was Morgan Wade, and he was second last, so just before me. And he came second in the Mega contest the year before, when we versed for this. So I was like, oh gosh, he's like the one guy that could definitely like knock it out of the park. But he ended up slipping a foot on the third jump, and at that point I was like, oh my god, I got one of these things. Oh my gosh. But then I had no run left, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? Like, there's no way I'm just gonna sit around. Like, I was thinking, oh, I could just play it safe, but then I'm like, how can I send it without like not sending it? Because I knew I had another contest, so I'm like, oh, maybe on the first jump I can throw a 7 fronty. But this jump was so small, so I was like, whatever, I'm gonna throw 7 fronty. If the 7 fronty works, then we'll finish it off. But yeah, it was a winning run, and I haven't got to do a winning run, I don't think. Oh yeah, I did. Actually, I did for this one, but man, it's weird how X Games plays out. But hucked the 7 fronty, just landed it, caught the back tire to the ass. I don't know if I can say that. I might bleep that out. But yeah, and then fronty tucked, and then I could have front flare, but I was like, you know what? I've already did it. I've already done it. Let's celebrate. Let's go. Give everyone a hug. Congratulate everyone. We got our 4th gold medal. But we're not done. We got to head and do our Park Best Trick. And it's actually funny because I honestly was more confident for Park Best Trick for some reason. I really thought that fakey backflip was going to work. But anyway, I won my gold, and I was like, all right, let's try to do 2 golds. And I remember I celebrated quite a lot on the drive home. It's about an hour drive home. The sunset was like really nice. We had this hanging off the dashboard, and I was just singing. And it was really good because on the drive there, I said, oh, we might have a gold medal like hanging here on the drive back. And sure enough, we did. Alrighty, so the day after, I was a little bit hungover, as you should be when you win an X Games gold medal. But I wanted to go hang out with everyone, so I went to the sleigh ground, which is Axel Hodges' compound, and we had the BMX Dirt and all the moto events. So I wanted to go see that. Plus, I had 3 days till Park Best Trick, and I couldn't practice. Like, there was no practice on really. So I thought I'd go watch that. And sure enough, Daywood threw down a 720 fronty no-hander in the dirt contest and won. Jay Tui got second. So he got a bronze in Mega Park and a second in dirt. So shout out to Jay Tui, absolutely throwing down. And he's doing triples in the UK, so cheer him on right now. But something that blew my mind was Fmx Best Trick, man. Those dudes are absolutely insane. I can't imagine like jumping 100 foot and doing a front flip. And then at the end of the day, probably the craziest thing I've ever seen was the quarter part air, quarter part highest air on motorbike. These dudes, I think they nearly broke 40 foot. I think it was 49 foot was the highest. And yeah, that was Colby Raha. And you can see he goes to the moon. Like it's absolutely, it's like one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my whole life. And that kind of like got me inspired to go to the Park Best Trick the next day. Whew, alrighty, so this is kind of where I had to take a back step a little bit, you know. I got to Park Best Trick, I was feeling really good. I got there late though, but I only had a really short practice, but it's all I kind of really needed. But I went to the spot. All right, this is where I want to try my fakie backflip, and you're gonna see like it was close, like it was working, but it just wasn't there, you know. Like it wasn't like in Canada. It wasn't like All In Skate Park. I didn't feel like I was as close, and who knows? It might have been because I didn't get as many tries, or it was concrete and I was nervous, or I was rushed, or something was different on my bike. Who knows? But man, I took some really bad crashes. There was one where I like fakey backflipped, and you're gonna see it. I like backflipped into the coping and smashed the back of my head. Somehow it didn't even hurt. It didn't really hurt that bad. I got back up and tried again, and sure enough, face planted, and I actually split my face. It's kind of probably a little bit scarred still, but I was more hurt on the inside because I was so prepared. I was so ready to be able to do this trick. Like I said, I'm going to do this trick at X Chain. Like this is the trick I'm going to do. I've already done it before, which was an amazing feeling because usually I go into contests and I haven't done the trick yet. You know, I'm like trying it for the first time. But I was like so confident, but just where I was trying it wasn't working. So I moved over to eventually where I tried it, like where I was going to try it, and it felt good. I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to try it in a different spot. And I didn't end up trying it that day, the day before the competition, but I did try it the day of. And yeah, I tried it a few times in practice, and you're gonna see right here, but it just wasn't working. Like it could probably work eventually. Like if I had 30 tries, it might have worked, you know. And that's why I still eventually tried it in the contest. But I was like in a predicament. I only had 20 minutes until the comp started. Like what was I gonna do, you know? And that's when I started trying to do, I did a fakie fronty just to see, oh, fakie fronty, like maybe I could do some sort of fakie fronty variation or spin or something. And I was like, okay, I'll try a fakie fronty 180. And it worked, first try. Like I didn't land it, but it worked, first try. And I'm like, what is going on? This is insane. Like this actually happens really fast. Like this is something I can do. And then there was like, I think 2 minutes to the contest. 2 minutes until we were live on X Games, live on ESPN, and we had Dave Mirror Park Best Trick. And I was going to try a trick that I had never even tried before. Well, I tried it 2 minutes before the contest one time. I tried it 2 minutes before the contest one time, and I fell over, but I felt pretty close. And then I went into it, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to try it in the contest. And sure enough, went in. First one, I'm warming up, feeling good. You'll see it right here. I drop in. Honestly, I really wish I could have got more speed for the fakie, and I could have 180'd in, but it would have been harder to get a straight fakie, because the main part of this trick is to have a straight fakie. So the first one, I was actually really close. I think I was closer to this one than my second attempt, as you can just see. But I felt good, you know. A fakie cash roll, that's the second time I've ever tried it, and the first time I ever tried it in the contest. So, I mean, I had nothing to be angry about. I'm safe, I'm still riding. I've already got a gold medal. What else can I wish for, you know? Let's just keep this going. So, I went into this second attempt, and I believe that this one, I went too slow. Like, the fakie was even slower than my first. The cash roll might have been nicer, but I just didn't have that enough speed to, like, get up the ramp and push forward and roll away. But then, you know what? Guess what? Third time is the charm, baby. And I probably jinxed myself, you know? I think after I even stacked the second one, after I stacked the first one, I looked at the camera and I'm like this, and I'm like, nah, second try is a charm. Next minute, stack the second time, but then third time, boom, landed my first ever fakie cash roll. And it's the second ever. Shout out to Pat Casey. He did it like a little while ago on his ramp, but man, I hadn't even done this on a scooter before, which is like what I would usually do, you know, try it on a scooter and then eventually do it. But yeah, gave Pat Casey a few shout outs and then said, you know, third time's a charm. Third time is a charm, baby. And then we had 2 more runs left, you know, after this. But I think this didn't score as well because you can see I landed kind of a bit sketchy, but I mean, I was so damn stoked to land that trick, you know, and I felt really pumped to roll away from it. And I was like, okay, I've got two more attempts. Let's try to get this fakie backy. And my face was hurting. I was hurting. I had heel bruise. But I was like, I'm going to send it. I'm going to try as hard as I can. Hopefully this thing comes around. And first attempt, obviously rolled up. And I can't really remember how bad it went. I was just like, what was happening was I was dipping to the side, whereas I have to go straight back. And I think the practice ones I did where I went straight back and like headbutted the coping kind of threw me off a bit. And I was like, kind of in my head, all right, like, I don't know. And I honestly thought that if I landed the trick, I didn't know what it would place because everyone was doing so well. But I wanted to get it done mainly for the kids at all in camp because I said I would land it for them. But you know what? Gave my last attempt, and my last attempt was actually the closest, I would say, to every attempt that I tried before that. But it just, wasn't straight enough. And I just laid on the floor, did a starfish. And that was the end of my X Games week. But I don't know, it was alright. And then, you know what? The next day I had Nitro Circus. Straight after my X Games Best Trick in Park, I had to do Nitro Circus the next day. And it was awesome because I got to go hang out with the whole crowd, go celebrate with the Nitro Circus boys, celebrate this, and I was really stoked on how it all played out. Alrighty, and that is a wrap. That was my X Games week. I'm so damn stoked. Dedicate this to you all. Thank you so much for watching me here on YouTube, cheering me on in the X Games, and you know what? I'm going to be back next year. There's more gold medals to be won. We're going to add to the list right here. But I'm super stoked with how I did. Mega Park was super fun. BMX Park was so fun. Shout out to all the competitors. Obviously, Jeremy got 3rd in Park Best Tricks. Shout out to him, man. He's an underdog. He used to ride scooters as well, so big shout out to him. And then Kevin got silver with like 30 tricks. He did Best Trick. It was insane. And obviously, Mike Varga, man. 900 bar spin to bar spin. Shout out to X Games for putting the contest on. I love yous all, and plenty more videos to come, so subscribe, alright? I hope yous all enjoyed this. I just wanted to play through my hectic 2 months on tour in the USA and kind of wrap up things in a small little bunch here on YouTube for you all. And stay tuned. Next week, got a worldie dropping. A few world firsts actually I did in this next video, so tune in. I love yous all. You. Let's go. Oh, dude, they call me 3 chains, bro. Oh, 4 chains, 5 chains. Yeah! I'm so fly.